What? Another BaoFeng HT? Yep, and it's pretty nice. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of gadgets that catch my eye. If you find this video helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. I really appreciate it. BaoFeng handheld transceivers, or HTs, sometimes seem like the little radios that everybody loves to hate. Truth be told, however, many hams that talk down the little inexpensive radios have several of them themselves. The UV-5R versions from several years ago did have some spurious emissions issues, but since the FCC emphasized to manufacturers and sellers that radios sold in the US had to be tested and listed in the FCC database, radio engineering improved and most BaoFeng models have FCC listings. The UV-13Pro I got from AliExpress didn't have the ID number on the label, but the model is listed in the FCC database, with approval being granted in December of 2021. It's listed as the TP8. I ordered mine in April of 2022. Several BaoFeng models, including the UV-13Pro, would be a good choice for a new technician class ham to get into local VHF, UHF, and repeater operations without spending a bunch of cash. The UV-13Pro comes in a variety of colors to help set it apart and has a more rounded exterior case than the boxy UV-5R. The other big difference is that the UV-13Pro has 999 user programmable channels, which far exceeds most BaoFeng's normal 128 channels. Since this is a ham radio, all 999 channels can be programmed to transmit. However, the radio will only engage the transmitter on frequencies in the UHF and VHF ham bands. The receiver will scan a much larger range, however, so you can program in marine, GMRS, and some public service frequencies as receive-only channels. From outward appearances, the UV-13Pro is nearly identical to the GM15Pro GMRS HT. Different printing on the menu and exit keys are the only differences I've discovered. Obviously, there are firmware-related operational differences for a GMRS HT. Let's take a look at what you'll get in the box and a quick overview of the menu system. Okay, so here's what's going to come in the kit. First is the radio itself. The antenna I've got attached. It's on here. It comes with a pretty good user manual that covers the main functions of the radio. What I find particularly helpful is at the back, where it talks about each of the menu choices and what they do. It comes with a wall wart charger that your Class C USB cord plugs into, the A side here, the C side here, and that plugs into the radio here on the bottom. Let's see if I get that up there for you right here. We'll look more at that in a minute. It comes with a secret agent style push-to-talk earphone set that comes with most BaoFeng radios. The belt clip attaches to the battery back here with the little screws that are in the radio itself there. And then a wristband for those of you who like to keep the radio secure. So that's the stuff that comes with it. Some sets are going to come with a programming cable, although this particular one did not. So let's take a minute and look at the radio and do a quick tour. So as with most BaoFeng radios, they work very much the same thing. The speaker is behind here. The microphone is here. There's a two-line display. We'll turn the power on there in just a second. The keypad has got the numbers, some shortcut keys, menu up, down, and exit. On this side, you have got the push to talk. This one will move it into FM mode. This will turn on the flashlight, either solid or flashing. On the back is the radio. On the bottom, we have the release to the radio, so you get the battery off, and then the charging plug-in with a little LED right there. That'll glow red when it's charging and green when it's done. Over on this side, it's got the typical K1 or K-style connector. The little secret agent headset will go in there. You know, a BaoFeng speaker mic can go in there. And of course, the programming cable can go in there as well. On the top, the antenna connection, we'll unscrew that here. It's a female antenna. The socket is up on this end, and then there's a male there. This little LED will show when you're receiving and when you're transmitting. That LED is the flashlight, and then the on-off switch right here. So let's turn the radio on and take a quick look at the menus. Okay, so we've got the radio on. I've got the sync mode set to on it's like menu 41, and that gives me my name and my frequency and my channel displayed here. And I like that display. It's dual mode, and so if you want to have two different channels listed there, you can certainly do that too, and you can do that within the menus. Now, speaking of the menus, they work like every other BaoFeng that you've ever worked with. Press the menu button. Menu. Hopefully you can see that. It's awfully bright. So this one is squelch. Press the menu again. Squelch. And then you can use the up and down buttons to make changes. When you get to the level you want, press the menu again. Confirm. It'll say confirmed, and then you can use the up and down to move through the various menu settings. So this is the sync, and you can see I have the sync on. Here's a little easier to see. And again, to make the change, I can just press the buttons up and down to rotate between off and on. There are, like I mentioned, 41 different menu settings that you can set. So go through the instructions and make the various settings that you want for either the channel or the radio, depending upon what the menu item is. So things like putting in a DCS code, putting in a CT CSS code, that can all happen here. Or you can use the little menu shortcuts and go right to that particular menu. And so, for example, if I press menu and 6, I go to the backlight, and then I can make changes on how long the backlight it will stay on. Make the changes. I'm going to leave it short so that you can see better. Select it, and then you can exit the menu there. We'll look at the CPS here in a minute, but if you have a set of frequencies that you're going to use and you don't mess around with making lots of changes to your radio, the CPS is probably just a bit easier. This is not difficult. It just can be a little bit tedious. And so here we have our other buttons on the side. So we'll press this top one. Press the scan. It seeks. It's a huge FM band, and so it takes a while to scan up. You know, European FM starts at about 65 or 67 megahertz. US FM starts at about 88. So it'll take you a second to get up there. But once you get in the range, you can use the scan button down here, or you can use the up and down buttons just to move in frequency increments. So that's FM. A long press gives you a siren. I've got this set so that it just comes through the speaker. I don't broadcast an alarm. Again, you can make that setting in the CPS, and I would recommend not broadcasting the siren. Down here, you can turn on the flashlight, you can turn it on to flash, and then you can turn it off. That's the second button down here. And so that's the menu system and a basic overview of the controls. The volume happens up here. Channel changing happens here. It'll go up the channels that you have. So channel 4, channel 5, down channel 4, channel 5. Or you can type in the channel. So if I wanted to go directly to channel 4, I can go 004, and it goes up to channel 4. So that all works pretty easily, and you can see how that works. To the extent this is so bright and the camera's having a little trouble eating it, I apologize, but hopefully you've been able to get a sense of how this programming works. If you've got an older BaoFeng, it works the same way. With 999 channels, you may want to leave a range of channels open for on-the-fly programming from the faceplate, but mostly you'll want to use the radio's customer programming software or CPS for most channel entries. You'll also probably want to give some thought to how you want to arrange your channels, so you place them in blocks on the radio so you don't have to scan through hundreds of channels to get to the one you want. For example, if you want to program marine or maritime channels, you may choose to place them in a group starting at channel 150 or 300 or whatever you choose. Since this is a newer radio, I had to search around for the CPS as it wasn't listed on the BaoFeng website. Here's where I found it. Go to the ABRI website at www.abree, that's ABBREE.cn/download. Select the BaoFeng list and scroll down to nearly the bottom where you'll find the P15 UV CPS. That's the one you want. It downloads as a .rar or RAR compressed file. So decompress it with WinZip or another decompression file. Go to download.cnet.com and find a free decompression program such as 7-Zip if you don't have one. The drawback to the basic BaoFeng CPS program is they don't allow importing channel listings from other programs or from sites like repeaterbook.com. Chirp has this feature, but unfortunately, this radio hasn't made it into the Chirp listing yet. Let's take a look at the CPS. If you need some help connecting to the CPS, take a look at my recent video on using a CPS to program a GMRS radio. The connection information is all the same. I'll link to that video below. So here we are with the UV-13Pro CPS loaded here on my computer. You can see it's called P15 UV. And so there are a couple of things to note here. The typical Windows menus, file for open, save as, program where you identify the COM port, read from or write to the radio. View is what you're looking at. So this is the tree here, this is the channel. The window, you can either cascade or tile the information. And here is just a help about with some information about the version number. So to start with an initial installation, we'll start with the program up. I've got the programming cable plugged into the radio and into my USB port on my computer. And I've got the radio on. So I'm going to go to program, I'm going to go to communications port. And I know that my USB communications port on my computer is COM port 4. That's what I have selected. The other COM port that's active is COM 1, but that's not the right one. And so if you have problems connecting to your radio, which probably you have the wrong COM port selected, to verify that, go to Device Manager in Windows, and you'll be able to see the USB COM port. So I've got it COM port 4. Now, again, back to programming, and I'm going to read from the radio. I could read from the radio by pressing this icon here, but I'm going to use the program drop-down box. So I'm going to go into program mode, read from the radio. I have my read from radio dialog box. I'm going to click OK. It goes into programming mode, and then it starts to read from the radio. In many cases, you'll need the volume on the radio turned very high, almost to the top, for that signal to make it through to your computer. So if you've got everything hooked up, but it still tells you that there's an error, the other thing to check is that the volume on the radio is up high. So here's our radio information. It's the same as this tab here. It tells you what the frequency range is for UHF, the frequency range for VHF, and you can make changes there. However, the way this radio is programmed, this is the range that the radio is going to work. And they're pretty wide range. This covers the 70 centimeters, it covers GMRS and other frequencies above the ham bands, and then the same thing here in the frequency receive range down to 136 all the way up to 174. Next, let's look at the general settings, and the general settings dialog box allows you to set some of the same things you can do in the menu. You can put in the boot screen and your call sign. So for example, the radio comes up and says welcome, and it says my call sign. That's where I've put it in. I can use English. The alarm sound I have on, but it's on site. I'm not going to send a sound, and I'm not going to send a code. I've got my repeater tail squelch set to off. I've got my Vox off. I work in channel mode. Battery saver is 1 to 3, which I find is a reasonable setting for that. DTMF side tones are off. Don't mess with DTMF codes. I've got the set to on, beep tones on, FM radios enabled. My Roger beep I have off. And then channel 1 display is name and number, and channel 2 display is the frequency and the number. Although when I set the sync mode in menu 41, I'm going to get that display that you saw on my radio with the name, the frequency, and the channel number. So that's my general settings. And so now we'll go into the channel mode. And so you can see here that I've done some programming. I've been using the radio. And so here in my top 10, if you will, I've got channels set for the UHF and VHF calls, and then some repeaters here in the local Phoenix area. As you can see, some have receive tones, most don't. They have input tones, which I've got logged here. Obviously, simplex call channels don't have tones. Wide, narrow, high power, push to talk ID I don't have on. These are in my scan list. The other thing I can do, I can press these double carets right here, and that'll open up a channel edit box, which gives you the same things, but just in a box format instead of working your way across the spreadsheet-like display. Although there are a couple of additional things like busy lockout and that kind of thing that you can add here in the channel box. Now down here, I put a gap just in terms of how I want to manage my frequencies. And in this case, then starting on channel 20, I've got some of my UHF stuff. So I've got 4 or 5 UHF repeaters that are here in the Phoenix area and areas that I go. I've got a repeater here in Payson. I like to go to the Quartz Fest, so I've got that repeater loaded in, as well as the Quartz Fest simplex channel that we used during that camp out in January. So those are all the channels that I've got in there. But as you can see, you can go all the way down to 999 channels. So I can put the weather channels in, put maritime channels in, all kinds of things that I've got plenty of room for. So if you think you're going to load a bunch of frequencies, so give some thought to how you want to program those into your memory so that the radio is easy to use as possible. When I'm done with this, I can file and save or save as. I can send these to my computer. I put mine on Microsoft OneDrive so I can access it when I'm away from home. And then when I get it saved, I'm going to write it back to the radio. And so in this case, just to show you what it is, we didn't make any changes. The write to radio box comes on, press it on, the radio is illuminated, the little light on the radio is flashing, and it's writing the data to the radio. So with the write complete, we'll click OK, we'll click cancel, and now the programming that is here in the displays, whether it is the channel display, the information, or the general settings, has all been written back to the radio, and I'm ready to go. I did a review of 5-watt HT power outputs about a year ago and found most of the inexpensive radios output about 3 to 3.5 watts. Let's put this one on the Surecom 33 Plus power meter and see what we get. Okay, so here we have the radio connected to the power meter and to a dummy load. So let's see what we get in terms of output. And that's pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed. The forward power is 4.57, so 4.5 watts going out from this little radio. I think I mentioned earlier that with these small radios, 3.5 to 4 is pretty typical. And so this is a surprise, pleasant surprise. Because it's a dummy load, the VSWR is, 1.01. So with an antenna connected, that would be a little bit different. But for just an output for power, 4.57 is excellent for this little radio. The UV-13Pro is a great little inexpensive VHF-UHF HT. Its low price and familiar BaoFeng operation and programming makes this a good choice for a go bag, a new technician's first radio, or even an everyday carry radio. I got the green case as you've seen, so of course I had to try my Abri tactical folding antennas to see if they fit. Well, they fit fine, although I had to use the included antenna O-ring that came with the antenna to ensure a tight, dust-free fit. If you like the original UV5R form factor, join me over here and we'll talk about the GT5R HT with some firmware and radio changes designed to better meet FCC rules. I'll have some affiliate links for this radio and related products in the description below. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. 73, and thanks for watching.